Cybertruck. This is episode 26. It's January something, 2015. I'm really enjoying not knowing the date. Oh, sorry, I just did that. I went down to my parents for a good chunk of time, which is why I wasn't able to record earlier. And I didn't have any finished objects. And sometimes I get like, what am I going to talk about? I have a Textiles in time this week, but I was like, what am I going to talk about? But I have finished objects, which is an incentive to get on and share. Because that, if I have finished objects, it means I have new works in progress. And I'm really excited to talk about those today. So I was down at my parents' for a good bit of the holiday, and I am back. Happy New Year to you, and looking brightly into the future, hopefully. I am not much of a resolution maker. I tend to make goals and amend them and dismiss them all the time. So, but I do like a January 1st. I like that New Year's Day, kick it off, here we go, kind of momentum. So I've been reveling a little bit in that, especially with finished objects and works in progress. Did I say welcome to new and returning viewers? Well, welcome. So happy to have you here. And thank you for all the connections that have been made via all of the social media outlets that I participate in, whether it's personal messages or on Instagram or even mail, as you'll hear about later. Those are so appreciated, as I always say, and most welcome in my little stretch of the woods. I know that last time I had talked about coordinating the Mountain Meadow Wool interview, and I will be doing that on this break. I go back to school on Monday. I just needed a little bit more time, and I left my computer here when I went to my parents', which was amazing. I spend a lot of time on the computer for grad school, and so to be kind of removed from that and not be chained to it was double thumbs up. And anyway, I'm going to get that organized and hopefully have that published before the Monday I go back. We also had a giveaway, and I thought I would get that right going and on with the show. We had a gorgeous yarn donated by Riot of Color. I believe she's out of Massachusetts. This is a 50% alpaca, 50% silk. Are you seeing that? Hello? I don't want to take it out of its hermetically sealed bag of, the dog hair possibility. But it's gorgeous greens and deep blues, kind of blue undertones, by Riot of Color, I think I said that, who is Susan Leviton. And this is Woods at Dusk in her Uproar base, I believe that's the base, 100 grams, 287 yards, 262 meters, Riot of Color. And this is the prize for the EEK giveaway that I did, which just asks you to share some of your favorite charities that you donate time or money or knitted items or goods or what have you. And I had 29 entries. I put 2 through 30 in the random number generator, and it came up with number 26, which is Claire McAvoy of the New Hampshire Knits podcast. So congratulations, Claire. I know it's not Shetland, and it's not gray, but it's coming your way to New Hampshire, and I'm really psyched. So go ahead and PM me with your address, and I will be sure to get that hopefully in before school starts, because once school starts, it might be a little bit more of a countdown waiting game, but I think I can manage getting into town. I hate to go to town. I don't know if I've ever said that, but I don't want to go to town. The only reason I go to town, which is, it's a very small town, is to go to the grocery store. And even that, I think it takes me 15 minutes to drive, or 10 minutes, 10 or 15 to get there. And I'm so not motivated ever to go to town. Of course, the post office is in town as well. So that's always kind of like the thing. It's not that I don't have it packaged up and ready to go. It's the going to town. So, but I will go to town for you. And that will get organized. So go ahead, like I said, and PM me, and we'll get that in the mail. Right? New Year's, momentum, shiny and bright. I can do this. Fern. So, Fernie and I are sharing space. She is here for the cool tile and the slight draft that comes through our French doors, and I'm here for the light. And we're trying to share space. See our fire behind me. Hope it's not too distracting. It was negative. I don't know. When I went out the door this morning, because Rob did the dogs, which was very nice, it was -6. And I think it came up to 0. I know Wednesday it's supposed to be -14 as the low. And so this is a constant battle of balance between heat and a Great Pyrenees and an Anatolian Shepherd, who actually he enjoys the stove far more than Fern does. He's a little bit of a sun dog, but she is like rejecting it, aren't you? You wish it was like 50 degrees in here, which would not be hard to do right now. On that note of cold and keeping warm, I have finished objects, which I'm very excited about, because when I have finished objects, it means I have new works in progress to show you. I feel like I've been working on these forever. Everything is precariously piled right here, because I make that face so much, and I'm so sorry if it annoys you. So, but let's talk about finished objects, shall we? Let me get organized. You can check your knitting or get your tea or whatever it is that you're libating. So the first finished object I have, some of you saw blocking on Instagram, and this is Orions Belt, and I have been talking about it on the podcast. It's huge. You can't even see me. I'm right here. But there it is. It's Orions Belt by Paulina P. And I did this out of Upton Yarns 3-ply Coopworth Sport. It does call for a fingering. And so this is a bit heavier. It's a worsted spun. So and Coopworth is, on the longer wool side. It's dyed with madder and weld to get this tiger lily color. And like I said, it's massive. I can wear it like a hat. I can wrap my shoulders. See if I can get organized here. Oh, I forgot to tell you what Claire's charities are. I'll go ahead and do that. So I can wrap it just like that, and then I can pin it in the back, which is, there you go, see? So it's a substantial garment, and it's got some really good weight to it, some heft to it, which helps that drape and give it not a rigidity, but I feel like even if I fell down in the snow with this on, I wouldn't ruin it. It would bounce back, and it would look just as great covered in ice and whatever else happened to get on it. When you fall down in snow in our yard, sometimes it's not pretty. But so yeah, I ended up shortening the bottom because I did not have enough yarn, and I did not have enough of the red. This whole part's supposed to be red with just a little bit of the tiger lily color on the end, but I just went with what I had and made it work, and I'm really pleased with the garment. I knit it on a size 6, 3.75 millimeter. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just not good at that. So maybe it's a goal I need to set, or not. Maybe I need to amend my goal. And I ended up, I think some of you may know, I broke a couple needles, Adi Turbos. You know what? Here's the thing. So I've broken a pair of sock rockets, and then I broke a cable on my interchangeable lace set. And I live like 4 hours from where I purchased it. And when I talked to Adi or Skisel, they said, oh, the easiest way to do this is to take it back to the shop where you bought it. And I said, well, I'm really not proximal to that shop. And they were like, well, you can send it back to us, but you got to go to the website, and you got to print this form, and you got to pay the postage, and blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of like, it would be really great if this warranty, I know, maybe I'm whining, was just a little easier to access if you had bought these on vacation or what have you, or I did not buy them. My other pair I had bought from Webb's, and they replaced them. But I just wasn't in a position to kind of access that chain of history. So I ended up saying, forget it, and I bought a cable, which was $7. And on principle, I think I'm going to still mail back my other one, because this one doesn't match, and anyway, it's been a whole saga. So that's been, I don't know, just kind of, not a lot of things annoy me, but that kind of annoyed me. I was like, well, if you're going to, I don't know, maybe I'm whining about something that's trivial. It's totally trivial. So I'm going to stop now and just do what the directions tell me to do, because that's what I tell my kids to do in school, right? Read the directions, Sarah. Do what the directions tell you to do. So, all right, I'm over that. Anyway, I broke a lot of needles on this. And I finally went out and I bought a set of Chigu interchangeables, red lace, and the 60-inch cable, and that worked brilliantly. It was perfect. I loved the Chigu, however that pronunciation works, or so yeah, so that was, so in some ways, like all things, it led to a positive outcome. I got to explore a new product that I love and now can continue to accumulate and work with a tool that I like. So that worked in some ways really well. So thank you, Skacel, for opening up a new opportunity and new doors. So that's done. I think my silver penannular brooch will look very nice with that. So, it's over there. I wanted to tell you before I forgot that I did look at what Claire likes to participate in, and her favorite charities include Heifer International and A Glimmer of Hope, which operates in Ethiopia, the ASPCA, and MSF. I know I should know what that is. She says, at home we support local food pantries and a breakfast program for school kids. Thanks for the opportunity to share, and happy Hogmanay. Happy Hogmanay to you. I'm a bit late on that one, but all the same. Yeah, so that list of what people donate to is extensive, and it casts a wide net. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about other programs and other opportunities, you can certainly visit that little 29, commented thread. I think that the Knitmore girls are doing a thread about your best work or the work that you do, and which probably is a bit more extensive than mine. But all the same, there are ways to network and figure out if there are new charities to donate to. My other finished project, sorry for that slight tangent on the finished objects. My other finished object is the Delias Vest by Bristol Ivy. This is for the boy, and it is all done. And he is very chuffed. He loves it. So, I knitted this with Hatchtown Coopworth. Note the Coopworth, not the Coopsworth. And Hatchtown's out of Bristol, Maine, which is ironic because this is designed by Bristol Ivy, who's another Maine designer. So lots of Maine connections here. Will be worn by a Mainer and knit by a Mainer too. So, yeah. So again, I know it's gray. We'll put it away. So that's done. I knit that on a size 8 US needle, and I didn't really have much trouble with. I knit it on my Knitter's Pride. I had a little bit of trouble with the charts at the top, but I was able to kind of pull it together, and the seaming went very well and easy, as did the picking up of stitches. I had a little bit different gauge, so I had to calculate for that, but for the most part, really solid, easy pattern, and probably should have gone a little bit faster than it did, but it didn't, because of some of my drawbacks with the other projects. So, works in progress, which I'm most excited about, because it's a change. I started a shawl for myself, and I started a sweater for myself. I am kind of pulling through my stash like nobody's business, which has been really satisfying. Ooh, I forgot to get some enabling. I may have to pause and go upstairs and get it. I have put on the needles, though, Another Door Opens by Sarah Bauer of Yarns at Yahoo, or Sarah Pomegranate on Ravelry and other social media outlets. So this is Another Door Opens. I've gotten quite a bit done. I am in love with the pattern and the yarn match. I love it. I love that this has texture and a little bit of has kind of a graphic knit. I'm knitting it with the llama I had talked about, the alpaca I had talked about last time, which is a 3-ply medium weight, 665 yards, spun in Peru, Joseph Galler, undyed, and 100% superfine alpaca. It's called Prime Alpaca, and I could not be happier. Now, I don't have any plans for the bottom edge. So the edge is this kind of long garter stitch band, very similar to the Orions Belt. And I had contemplated, using this blacker yarns, blacker swan on the edge. It's kind of a purpley heather mauvey color. But the weights are too different. I did knit a swatch and it's just too much of a different weight that it kind of changes the character of the garment piece. So to do this in an edging. So I'm going to have to find something else or just do it in a brown, which kind of bums me out because I was looking forward to maybe expanding my color horizons, but I don't think I have anything in stash that will really match it in that weight. Not that it won't be gorgeous as a natural dyed brown, but I had posted a picture of this on Instagram, and Joanna of Knit Spin Farm is also knitting it in a similar color, so kind of have a comrade there, and the beautiful unnatural dyed yarns. Even though I had wanted to kind of embellish this a little bit with some of my other colored pieces I have in alpaca, I just wasn't able to make it work. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm kind of leaving that open. This is interesting, but you will not be surprised that my other project is brown. I am knitting Stroker by Isolde Teague, and I started on the sleeve because I wanted to do my gauge swatch on this. I don't have a picture of it handy. I find that when I use the iPad with this light here, it doesn't come out on the camera, so I've just kind of given up on that. But it's a yoke sweater and knit in an Icelandic fashion, so imagine an Icelandic sweater, if you will. The yoke's a bit higher, or the patterning on the yoke is a bit higher, so it's not like the full yoke, but just a bit high here, and then the rest is the garment. So I'm working on the sleeves. I'm getting gauge kind of stitch-wise, but I'm not getting gauge row-wise. So she calls for 7 rows per inch, and I'm getting 6 rows per inch. So I'm having to kind of do a little bit of calculation. I don't know if I would normally feel that as imperative, but with the yoke, I want this section to fit appropriately. So I want the yoke to sit where it should sit. So that is going to play into my row gauge. So I'm just going to have to kind of amend the rules, I think. I found a really nice blog on Knitty. I just typed in knitting gauge, and she explains how to convert some of your row gauge into these longer dispersed decreases or increases. So for example, I'm doing the sleeve. I have to decrease 12 times every 7 rounds, which basically I think is every inch. Every 7 rounds for her is an inch. So I'm doing it every 6th round to compensate for my row gauge, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, I'm knitting this with Starcraft Fiber, who, by the way, is going to have a pop-up shop at Vogue Knitting Live this next upcoming weekend. I'm really psyched for her. Janie Estelle of Starcraft Fiber. I love her fibers, as you know. We produced a full episode on Starcraft Fiber and Mary Jane Mucklestone. You can find that on our YouTube channel. And it was a really amazing day and an amazing mill and an amazing story. This shape flock was started by the lighthouse keeper's daughter. It doesn't get much better than that. So anyway, I have had this in stash for a while, and it will become a stroker. And I have my other colors. Maybe I'll grab those when I go get my enabling. But that's all I have done. So that's all that's on the needles. I do have a sock on the needles. It's the Waffle Creams by Ann Hansen, knitting it on the Gratois base by Serenity Farms. I think it's Serenity Farm. And that's Granny Sheep. She's a member of our group. That's going to be making its way down to school. So I usually knit that in class. So I'll get that other sock done hopefully this January. So that's all that's on the needles. Now I have my other work in progress, which is not knitting related, is my Sami bracelet. And here it is. I don't know if that's gonna, there we go. So I have everything done. I have it braided, it's been stitched down, I've glued the back, and so tonight I will join the back. I'll stitch that, put the button on. I'll be done. And I have loved every minute of this. I know I said that last time, and I want to order all the tin thread in the world and all the reindeer hide. That kind of sounds slightly unethical of me, all the reindeer hide, but you know what I mean. I'd like to order more to create some more bracelets. So this has been such a fun exchange with Disa of Disa's Craft Work, and you can go on over and check out her podcast for more details on how to do this. She has 2 tutorials, and we have links on where to find the materials too. So if you're interested, that will still be there, and you can try a new craft out. A really beautiful one and versatile one at that. I'm going to pause it and run upstairs and get my acquisitions. Okay, I'm back. This was a really important acquisition I wanted to share with you. So I had a number of important acquisitions. I hope I didn't forget any of them like this. I have a friend who owns a yarn shop and gift store called One Loop and Fiber Arts. You can find them on Facebook and on the web. She is a felter, knitter, spinner, general creative, awesome woman who has a lot of amazing ideas, and this was one of them that I happened to capitalize on through Christmas gift. So this was from my mother. I had seen this yarn at her home while I was visiting and had fallen in love with it. This is a merino mohair blend. No, I'm sorry, did I say merino? I meant Romney. I don't know where that came from. This is a Romney mohair blend, and you can really see the luster and the shine there. I'll just cover myself up because it's much prettier. So the Romney, I believe, came from Bye Brook Farm, or Bye Brook Farm, which is a farm up in Aroostook County, and Michelle is a 130, is also a spinner and a fiber preparer, both in many ways, whether she's on her sheep or she's preparing her own for spinning, and a knitter as well. I have met Michelle at the Common Ground Fair, and it was such a funny experience because she was just like, she knew me, and I got this great big hug, and it was just like instantaneously kindred, you know. I don't know if she's on Etsy still. I think she had some fiber on Etsy, but this fleece was purchased by Jody and then sent with the mohair, and that is also Maine mohair. I'm not sure which farm that came from, and out to be milled. So I have about 1,100 yards. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with this yet. And I can really see the luster in it, and I can feel the strength in it, and the drape from the combination of the long hair of the Romney and the mohair. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. On Christmas morning, I opened this up because I had told my mother I wanted it, and my mom called back and she said that Jody had already sold it, and I knew it would go fast because why wouldn't it? And so on Christmas morning, I got it, and I was so excited. I started wearing it like this. Because you probably could. I saw for sale in a magazine my parents get, I don't know which catalog it was, but they were selling basically this, and then they were selling skeins of yarn like this that had been wound with a piece of yarn here and a piece of yarn here as, you know, cowls. So I know it's gray. I'm very excited. So I got that, and I got, like I said, about 1,100 yards, so substantial amount, enough to do a sweater. I also received a very special package from my friend, and that is Sarah Pomegranate of Yarns at Yanhu was able to produce some beautiful Cosmic Wonder worms. These are for meditative spinning, Shetland Merino, Corriedale, Surrey Alpaca, and I think these were blended on her blending board. And does she not know me? Look, she's like, look, all right, Sarah, we'll give you your grays and your whites and your natural colors, but you're going to have to play nice. Right? I love it. I love it. Love it. So I haven't started spinning these yet, but they're next on my list because I think they'll go, sorry, Fern and I are vying for our space. I think that they'll spin up lovely, and I'll ply them up, and maybe I'll just keep them like this. And I've got to finish plying some bits and pieces, but those are next for prior to grad school. She has been working on a couple of projects, and you can go ahead and get more information on her website, but the meditative spinning piece has kind of been prominent. I can't remember the name of the gal she's working with, this creative space, but I would recommend going on over and listening to her chat a little bit about that concept of meditative spinning. It's very interesting. I also received from her, and she is a cousin who owns Spinner's End Farm, and this is in Curtis, Michigan. This is a luxury lotion bar, beeswax, shea butter, coconut oil, avocado oil, and pure essential oils, and this is lemongrass. And I've been wearing this nonstop. I have one other favorite hand cream that I use, and that is Idabel, all about body butter, special care for knitters, quilters, artists, and gardeners. And I just love the smell of that. So these are my two, now this one, my two go-to. And I order these, I order this in the mail, and I will now start to order this in the mail because I love it. The essential oils in this are long-lasting, so I get that that scent, and I do love essential oils, and I do love scent. And it also ends up permeating a lot of my clothing and my knitting, and people have often noted when they put something of mine on, or they grab something of mine, or they'll be like, oh, that smells like you, or this smells like you. And so I just I like that. I use a lot of essential oil blends through Young Living essential oils. So I use Valor, Peace and Calming, Thieves, and Release. I have a whole bunch, and I love these too. So just very grounding. Smell is really an interesting sense. So what else did I get? Oh, I got my Knit Spot shipment. Sorry, I'm going to have to crinkle my bag. Which ended up being, this is mink yarn. It's 90% mink, 10% cashmere. No minks were harmed in the making of this yarn. 350 meters, hand wash, eco-friendly, minkyarn.com. This is the chambray. It says, I can't believe how soft this is. Let's see if I can just do this. You're not going to pick up on that color. It's lighter than this. How about that? They have a whole thing on the ethical treatment of their animals, and that they're sheared and how they're treated, and so they're very cognizant of that piece of this industry. And just a really interesting novel yarn. It is exceptionally soft. This coming from somebody who works, with the strong wools. So you might be like, oh, I'm getting warm. That feels like X. But the cashmere and the mink together are pretty luxurious. So I got that. And that came with a very charming set of earrings from Moving Mud. And I thought that was a nice touch for a gift. And they do glass and clay and buttons and those types of bits. I also got a couple gift certificates, which was good fun, from my brother and his wife, and they also got me this lovely skein. It's called Baby Doll Bunny, spinnickiesfarm.com, where Angora and wool collide into luxury. 85% German Angora and 15% Old English Baby Doll South Down wool. So that's a little bit mintier than the actual color, but yeah, so that'll be kind of fun to knit for some baby, or soft, something, something sweet and nice. So I was surprised to get that. My sister-in-law does a nice job putting together yarny presents for me each year, so so that was nice. Last year she got me some local alpaca, and yeah, so that was a treat. Well, let's see. Did I note that Spinner's End Farm lotion and the Cosmic Wonder Wools were from Yarns at Yin Hu? They came together with some candies and a very nice card. And let's see, Fabric Farm. Yep, Wonder Cosmic Worms, Mink Yarn. Great. I also got a couple project bags. Morgan gave me this, just a nice little easy project bag. Very cute. And my mom got me, per my request, the Anna Green Gables bag and stitch markers from Little Skein in the Big Wool. So that's great. I think that's it. Let me check my notes. I'm a little out of sorts. Do I always say that? Maybe I do. Let's see. I also got a yarn bowl, which I left over there, and I'll show you next time. I was very pleased to get a yarn bowl from my sister-in-law again. And I got a gleaner this year, which actually I got the gleaner for my husband's stocking because he was always complaining about the pills on his sweater, but I used it and it worked like a charm. I got that recommendation from One More Road podcast, Dana of Unwind Yarn. She was talking about the gleaner and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. Excellent recommendation. Worked wonders. I use it on this sweater because the back, when I wear this, when I would get in my car, it would create pills on this one area of the back. And I just took care of that yesterday. Glean, glean, glean. So, I also received a shipment of yarn, and I'm going to tie this into some textiles in time. And then I'm going to wrap it up, because I'm at, gosh, almost 40 minutes. So, Sarah of Upton Yarns has produced us a Gansey yarn. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about Ganseys and the origination of that, Gansey wool. So I'm going to start with the wool. So this was sent. Ganseys were traditionally done, as I have learned, in navy and blues. But they did have fawns and grays. So this is a 5-ply Gansey yarn, and it is going to be for a test knit that Rob and I are working on for Sarah. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about, the history of that. And traditionally spun worsted 5-ply. So we know we're talking about a very strong wool with a lot of quality for ruggedness and standing up to weather, which is why it was designed that way. They were designed for seafaring men, primarily fishermen, and they originated in the Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey. And I'm going to probably use the term Guernsey or Gansey to talk about this particular sweater. I got my information from a Mariner's, website, and from this book. Sorry, I'm just kind of all stuck for space. By Gladys Thompson, which she's kind of the authority on fisherman sweaters of the British Isle, but patterns for Guernseys, Jerseys, and Arons. And let's see if I can find you a great. She has a lot of great pictures in here. And I'll get one up close. Let's see if I can find one that really, yeah, here we go. Now that's not technically a traditional Gansey. We'll talk a little bit about why. Maybe it is. It just has so much wear. But they had a high neck. And because there's a reason for that. But you can see the texture there. So, I got this book used. It has an inscription on it. Kind of funny. So, Channel Islands worsted spinning was a staple industry on Jersey, and so this yarn was already being produced in the area. 5-ply worsted. I know I keep coming back to that, but I really want to reinforce the important aspect of this wool. It was favored by sailors and fishermen, and there was the neighboring island Guernsey. And the traditional sweater took on a particular shape. It was square shaped and it had a straight neck. And the reason that it had a straight neck up, which I don't know if that was exemplified in the book pictures I showed you, is because it could be reversible. So everything we're talking about here is practicality and wear. The back and the front were identical. The patterning of those, as Gladys takes us through, really started out plain in Guernsey, and it migrated north into Scotland. And as it migrated, the patterns became more complex. And then it migrated back south with these Scottish herring fishermen and their wives. As their wives followed them to gut the fish, the wives came with them, and these patterns came back. So there was a lot of transformative time moving north and moving south for the patterning, but primarily the material and the technique stayed the same. Patterns were passed down from mother and daughter and were memorized. You are right there. It was knit on 5 needles or pins, as they called them. It's seamless, and it was designed seamlessly for strength and impermeability. So wanting to make a garment, which is almost similar to our concept today about Gore-Tex, seams are a problem. Seams let in the weather, and so the less seaming you had, the less opportunity for infiltration of, for wet primarily. They were windproof and waterproof, and their working ganzis that they used were never washed. And so if you start to think about the salt, the sweat, the dirt, the 5-ply worsted, you're starting to see a material come together that is exceptionally strong. Now, they did have another ganzi for high holidays and for Sundays that they wore. So they had 2. Not to be, it was really funny in this document I was reading, they talked a little bit about, that was an important aspect of being able to attend church, of course, was to not wear your working garment to church. It's also called Sunday best. They have a traditional underarm gusset for ease of movement, and they have a welt, a neck, and cuffs. The welt, neck, and cuffs are knitted very tight. And this, of course, again adds to that weatherproofing. Cuff ends are short of the wrist and to avoid impeding the hands and getting wet, and the garment is very close fitting. For those of us that have worked around machinery and agriculture, snowmobiles, doesn't matter, the more loose or positive ease on our garments, the more capability they can get caught on tackle and who knows what gates, and that could be very dangerous. So these garments were very form-fitting and made to be out of the way. They could be unraveled and re-knitted. The arms especially, cuffs and elbows tended to wear out. The tops were knitted more densely than the bottoms for warmth up above, and they also had the, I know what I wanted to mention. I wanted to mention that they called the wool that they knit these garments with Siemens iron. I made a note of that somewhere. Yeah, Siemens iron was the wool that they knit with it. I guess I was really fascinated by the whole, just every little detail for creating a garment that could withstand weather. And, being on the sea, salt, and all of the pieces that go into that, dealing with the catch, dealing with the equipment, wind, everything, to think about a garment being able to exist and last that long. I don't know, it's just amazing to me. And it's one of the reasons that I think I hold on so strongly to some of these more traditional wools and wool uses. Patterning was inspired by everyday objects. That's pretty typical. We see that with Shetland lace as well. Nets, ropes, anchors, and they also based them on the weather. So waves, there's a hail pattern, flashes of lightning. They were, as I said, traditionally navy blue. They also, similar to the Aran sweater, initials were incorporated into the design, and patterns could also be regional. So this, in a kind of a morbid idea, was we better able to identify bodies. We all know that fishing, being on the sea, was a very dangerous and still is a very dangerous occupation. And so being able to identify people when they were washed up, pulled up, drifted, was important. So I just thought that was a nice little anecdote to some of the work that I'm going to be doing, and just to try to find out more. On Sarah's blog, uptonyarns.com, she has a picture of herself in a hand-knitted ganzi that I've actually seen in person, and she designed, and it's gorgeous. It's lovely. It has a great fit. It's not too stiff, but it definitely has structure, and so you could head on over to her blog and look at that. She also carries this yarn, and I know there's a number of patterns out for ganzis and ganzi knitting, But this book is also just interesting because it has all the traditional patterns and talks about where they originate from. So, and it's got some great pictures. I mean, who doesn't love those pictures, right? Those are inspiring. That funnel neck I was talking about, I was trying to see if I could find an example of that. It's a pretty high neck. Here, this guy might be able to give you some insight. That reversible neck. I know there's a lot of nuances in here that perhaps I'm not touching on, but I just wanted to give you a taste of this piece of history, and if you wanted to find out more, of course you can. So this book is Pattern for Ganseys, Jerseys, and Errands by Gladys Thompson, and like I said, I found this used in a bookstore, but you might be able to get it used on Amazon.com, or I'm not sure if it's out of print or not. So I highly recommend that. I just got it for fun to read. So I'll be doing a test knit with that. You'll be maybe learning a little bit more. And I think with that, the end of Textiles in Time, it's a fond farewell. I have been very out of the loop with my podcasts and podcast listening. I got to listen to a number of my audio podcasts because I was driving, but I was watching cable TV and I wasn't able to incorporate in that other aspect of my personality of podcast watching while abroad. So I'm back on. I'm trying to catch up and see what everybody's been doing. In the meantime, I hope to finish Another Door Opens by the end of the week so that I can have something to talk about in 2 weeks. And I think other than that, you can find me on Ravelry, Instagram. I'm Swensty on Ravelry and Fibertrek TV on Instagram, fibertrek@gmail.com. And I know, I always do this. I don't have a catchy outline, head outline. So I'm just going to say bye.